Okay, so hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Dvipika Garg and today we'll be covering few more image-based questions. As mentioned earlier, these image-based questions are absolutely and solely for the purpose so that you know where you stand based on your previous knowledge acquired during your graduation times. Okay, so how you can do and work with me is when I am repeating a question, when I am reading a question, attempt the MCQ along with me, so that would be really good. So you all can start attempting the MCQs along with me. In case you have not understood, just listen to the explanations which I am giving as per that MCQ. In case the things are still not clear, you can always write down in the comment section. Ask your doubts and I'll get back to you. Okay, so subscribe to the channel so that you get a notification that yes, my new video has come up. Stay tuned to it so that you know what has to be done, how things have to be read, how to go about with your NEET MDS preparations, right? So I'm assuming that you have just read and marked yourself for part 1 and part 2. You know where you stand. You can make your own score list where out of 10 how much did you get, so that you know how much you are progressing. So with that, let's start with our first MCQ for the day, and the MCQ is, which machine is this? Okay, so now you can see that there is a machine. So you have to identify which machine is this. Maybe you all have seen this machine in your lab, but you never knew what it is, or maybe some of you have used it. So this is a thermoplastic vacuum former, right? Thermoplastic vacuum formers are used to make thermoplastic retainers. See, at the end of the treatment, when the treatment is over, before we relieve the patient and tell that the treatment is over, we have to give a set of retainers to the patient to make sure there is no relapse. So the corrections which have been done are retained. Therefore, for this purpose, vacuum formers, thermoplastic vacuum formers are given, which is a type of retainers. There are many more type of retainers, but this machine is used to make thermoplastic vacuum former. So what is done? There's a thermoplastic sheet which has to be placed in between these two, and then it is allowed to heat. We switch on this button and it is allowed to heat. We put our cast and then place the heated material onto the cast, so it takes the shape of the cast. Then we cut it out and give the retainers. In case you have seen my previous videos, you will know what a spot welder is, because I've already shown you the image. Soldering machine, as told, it is like a pen, flame shaped pen, which helps in soldering. Cast trimmer is something which you all must have used in either prostho or ortho. So simple, you know how a thermoplastic vacuum machine looks. Next question. Identify the appliance. Now this appliance is not easy, either to fabricate, either to understand everything. Okay, maybe I've not done it during your VDS times because this is a little MDS based question. So in case you don't know the answer for this one, it's fine. The first option which we have is Beggs retainer. Beggs retainer is a retainer with an acrylic component with wire components, and one of the classic thing to be remembered in Beggs retainer is that, which is very important, it covers the last erupted tooth. Whether your second molar is there, whether your third molar is there, whichever tooth is the last one erupted into the arch, that tooth has to be covered in Beggs retainer. Okay, so Beggs retainer is given at the end of the treatment to retain the corrections which have been done. Next, pendulum appliance. As explained previously in the previous lecture, you know pendulum appliance is used for distalization. And how does it look? There is an acrylic component which is present, and there are wires coming out from the acrylic component, and it is used for distalization. So this thing which you see here is a utility arch. Okay, utility arch has several components which are mentioned here. This is the anterior section, which runs in the anterior region, anterior vertical step, buccal ridge section which runs in the buccal area. This is a posterior vertical step. This was an anterior step, this is a posterior step, and this is the molar section which gets inserted into the molar tube. So these are the components of utility arch. Making a utility arch is one thing, and understanding it is a different thing altogether. right? So just know that this is a utility arch. It can bring about different kind of tooth movement with certain modifications. We give loops in between. Here or here loops are given to bring about the desired tooth movement. Utility arches can intrude our anterior teeth. They can procline the teeth. They can retrude the teeth. They are very well used in class 2 division 2 cases to intrude and procline our central incisors. Okay, the next option which you have is Hawley's appliance. You all are very well versed with Hawley's appliance. Moving on, the next question which we have is, what is the normal value for IMPA? Right, so if we again go back to the basics, when you get this question is in exam, first thing you should be thinking is IMPA. What is IMPA? It belongs to which subject? So now you should come down to it belongs to ortho. Next, which chapter? Okay, so now you know that since you have read thoroughly, you know that IMPA is from your cephalometric analysis. Next, who gave this IMPA? If you are all more, we have revised well and you're very well thorough with your preparations, you know that IMPA is a part of Tweed's triangle. Okay, this is a Tweed's triangle. There are different analysis are there given by Steiners, Downs, and one of them is Tweed's. So Tweed triangle has given IMPA, which stands for incisor mandibular plane angle. So this angle is IMPA, and the normal value for IMPA is 90 degrees. It means your lower anterior teeth should be upright. They should be standing here at 90 degree for a balanced occlusion. Right? In case my angle increases, indicative of lower incisor proclination. In case my angle is less, it indicates lower incisor retroclination. So please remember, the normal value for IMPA is 90 degree. IMPA is this angle which was given by Tweed's. Right? Moving on. The next question we have is, the conditions seen in the radiograph are, first of all, this is the figure of an OPG. Okay, so you should be knowing what is an OPG, what is an IOPA, what RVG, what is lateral cephalogram, frontal cephalogram, occlusograms, etc. Okay, so this is an OPG. The things which you can appreciate in OPG are generally sinuses, temporomandibular joint, entire upper arch, entire lower arch, inferior alveolar canal. So you should know what things are visible. So here entire dentition is absolutely visible to you. So now when you move ahead, what do you see? That you can see impacted canines over here, right? So these are maxillary impacted canines, and with that, what do you see? Over retained deciduous canines. See, my primary canines are still retained. As a result, mandibular canine are not able to erupt. What else do you see? You see a abscess over here. Then can you appreciate impacted molars? Okay. So the conditions seen in the radiographs are impacted canine and third molars. Yes, we can see that. Over retained deciduous canine. Yes. So both of the above. So the condition seen in the radiograph is impacted canines, impacted molars, over retained deciduous canines. Right? Next question. Identify the type of retainers. So what are retainers? Retainers are given at the end of orthodontic treatment to make sure that there is no relapse. All the orthodontic corrections are retained. There are different kind of retainers, like we have Hawley's retainer, which you all might have prepared during your BDS postings. Next is thermoplastic retainer. We just saw how a thermoplastic machine looks. Next type of retainer is this retainer, which is a fixed retainers. Coming to the broad classification of retainers, retainers can either be fixed or they can be removable. If they are fixed, they cannot be removed by the patient. In case they are removable, the patient can remove it at his or her own will. Examples of removable retainer are Hawley's retainer and thermoplastic retainers. Example of fixed retainer is the retainer which is shown in the figure. Here they have shown a lower lingual retainer. So we take a wire, braid it, and then attach it onto the lingual surface of the tooth with the help of composite resin. So you can see how with the help of composite resin, lower lingual retainer is given. It is attached to the tooth surface. So what happens? My lower teeth, they do not move, and the corrections which are done during the orthodontic treatment are retained. Okay, so when this wire is given, the teeth have the flexibility to move into their space. As a result, they get fitted into this particular position which has been given to them. They are not absolutely bound. There is some flexibility to move. So they are highly effective and they should be given at the end of treatment. So Begg's retainer we can easily rule out because that is a removable retainer which extends till the last erupted tooth. So this is a fixed retainer. Lower lingual retainer is shown in the figure. Moving on, identify the radiograph. See, we just discussed how we should know how does a radiograph look. The previous radiograph which we saw was an OPG. So now you know that this is not an OPG. So this is cancelled. This is a lateral cephalogram because you can see the lateral profile of the patient. In case you could see the front profile of the patient where the rays are directed from the front region, so that becomes your frontal cephalogram. This is an example of lateral cephalogram. Occlusograms you all might have taken during your BDS times to cover the occlusal taper, maybe to check impacted canine or anything. Right, so that is occlusograms, and the figure shown here is that of lateral cephalogram. Lateral cephalogram and OPG are two things which are mandatorily taken before we start an orthodontic treatment. Right, it depends from orthodontist to orthodontist though. If they want, they can take a few more diagnostic radiographs. But these two things are something which we generally take in all the cases. So from OPG we can know the status of the dentition. From lateral cephalogram, we can know the status of the arches. So what we do is take up a lateral cephalogram and trace cephalograms. And all the cephalometric analysis which we have, right, Downs, Steiners, width appraisal, Tweeds or whatever, everything is based on the readings of lateral cephalogram. Moving on. The depicted facial angle parameter was given by. Now you already know that facial angle terminology you have. So if you have done model analysis very well in your BDS times, you already know the answer, right? But still, let us see it in depth. What do you see? That there is a Frankfurt horizontal plane. FH line is drawn from orbital to porion. Next is you see a vertical line running from point N, that is nasion, to point POG, that is your pogonion. Okay, so from NPOG there is a line which is intersecting at FH plane, and what they are asking, the depicted facial angle. This inner angle is your facial angle, and this parameter was given by Downs. This is a parameter which is used for Downs analysis. Okay, and it is used to know what is the degree of protrusion or retrusion of the lower jaw. Why? Because point N remains constant. My position of pogonion will change. If it is ahead, my angle will increase. If 87 degree or if 87 degrees is the normal, and if you get 97 degrees, it means my pogonion is ahead and this angle is increasing, indicative of class 3, indicative of my mandible is moved ahead, my mandible is protruded, right? And if my end pogonion angle is less, maybe if it is suppose 70 degrees, what does it indicate? It indicates that there is decreased facial angle. My chin is retruded, which may or may not be related to mandibular retrognathism. Okay, it is not always that my mandible is retruded, but in most of the situations, yes, if my facial angle is less, we can say that mandible is retruded, and it is a case of class 2. So facial angle was given by Downs analysis, which is the innermost angle made by FH intersection of FH plane with N pogonion. Steiners is SNA, SNP, ANB thing. Tweeds triangle is already discussed, FMA, IMPA. And width appraisal was covered in my image based question part 1. So if you have known that, you can easily rule out widths because that is the horizontal distance between AO and BO. Right? Moving on. Identify the appliance. So what do you see here? we see that there is an assembly placed into the palatal region, and my first premolars and molars are banded. Okay, so when you see this kind of assembly, you should know that this is used for expansion. This is an expansion assembly, right? So yes, this is an expansion assembly, and the answer for this is banded RME. RME is rapid maxillary expansion. Okay, sometimes what happens, my maxilla is not expanded to the extent it should be. Okay, it can be collapsed or it is narrow. So then you need to expand. When you're expanding, it can be rapid expansion or slow expansion. So in RME stands for rapid maxillary expansion. Since this assembly is attached to the molars and premolars which are banded, it is known as banded RME. It can be bonded also to the tooth structure, then it becomes bonded RME. Next example, next option B is Night-Eye expanders. Night-Eye expanders are nickel titanium expanders which are there, which is used to bring about expansion of the upper jaw. Okay, but this assembly is a classic banded RME. Last option is Gauge-Carrier appliance. No, it is not a Gauge-Carrier appliance. TPA is your Gauge-Carrier appliance. So this is how you rule out Gauge-Carrier appliance. No. Next, Night-Eye expander. No. So basically you should be confused between, you should know that this is a RME. So whether it is banded or bonded, clearly this is a banded RME. Right? Moving on. I hope whatever I'm explaining is clear to you people. Okay, in case things are not clear, if you have any doubt, please feel free to write down in the comment section. Ask your doubts in the comment section. I will revert back. I will get back to you people. Okay, this is purely for your own your own preparations, so that you can attempt these questions and know where you are standing. You should know the things which you have to cover more thoroughly. Okay. Next question. The figure shown is indicative of. This is one thing which you all have covered in orthodontics as well as periodontics. So what do you see here? That the combined mesiodistal width of primary canine and molars is more than that of permanent canine and permanent premolars. So what do you get here? Excessive space. Do you see that primary teeth are occupying this much amount of space, and when permanent are erupting, they are occupying this much amount of space? So this space which you see here is excessive space. Okay, so this phenomenon is this space is known as leeway space of Nance, whose definition goes by the combined mesiodistal width of permanent canine and premolar is usually less than that of primary canine and the molars. So this excess space is your leeway space of Nance, which is used during late mesial shift. Okay, do not get confused between early and late mesial shift. Early mesial shift is utilized by the primary spaces or simian spaces which is present mesial to the upper canine and distal to the lower canine. Okay, but late mesial shift is utilizes your leeway space of Nance to make sure that class 1 molar relationship is obtained. Okay, so this figure is indicative of leeway space of Nance's spaces. All the spaces which are there, your generalized developmental spaces, anthropoid spaces, leeway space of Nance, you should be very much thorough with it. Often I have seen students getting confused in early and late mesial shift, but the phenomenon is really simple. Just go through the textbooks properly and do not get confused with it, because often these questions are asked. Okay, early and late mesial shift questions will be there in examination, and now since you have more of image based and patient based questions, so maybe they ask you in one of those forms. Okay, so next question. This triad was given by. I don't think we need an explanation or anything in this. It is Jackson's triad. Okay, where Jackson gave the triad of functional efficacy, structural balance and aesthetic harmony, because he told that just correcting teeth is not enough. You have to make sure it is functional, patient can chew properly, there are good masticatory forces which are there. There has to be a structural balance between your face, jaws and teeth, and aesthetic. Yes, the patient should look good. So this triad, the very famous Jackson's triad, angle no, broadbent no, profit no. So it is a Jackson's triad. So I hope from 10 you people have at least got a 7 or 8. If that is the score, well and good. Not bad. You are on the right track. See, if you have opened up my YouTube videos, it means you have started up with the preparations. Simple. Okay. So now when you have started with the preparations, first thing is done. You know where you are standing. With that, next step is to make a timetable for yourself. So a task for all the students out there is make a list of subjects which are there. Okay, start from the very first subject: anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pharmacology. From first year to final year, make a list of all the subjects. Once you have done with that, analyze the amount of time you have for your preparations. In case you are starting the preparations from now, and if the exam is in December, you know you have close to 8 months to prepare. 8 months and 18 subjects. It's high time you divide your it is high time you divide the subjects and how it has to be read. One thing which you can do is start with preparations of other subject and leave purely ortho based on my YouTube channel. Okay, so just subscribe to the channel, get a notification, start attempting questions which I'm giving you, go through the lectures which will be soon put up more for you people. Okay, just listen to the lectures, understand things, attempt MCQs which are given to you. And yes, if you have any doubt, please put it down on the comment section so that I know where you people are lagging, or you know which areas are not clear and which has to be given more importance, so accordingly we can work out. So yes, so all the best for your preparations and stay tuned. I hope this YouTube channel help you people in preparation of NEET MDS examinations. Thank you.